Baby's first chronic condition. After years of mysterious symptoms, health hiatuses, and searching for answers, I've gotten a diagnosis that changes everything. And I'm ready to talk about it. If you've been suffering from mysterious symptoms that won't go away for years, no matter what you do, this video is for you. Because that was me, and I figured it out despite being dismissed by family, doctors, and even friends for years. Common disorders like depression, anxiety, and even allergies aren't always health conditions. Sometimes they're actually symptoms of a larger systemic health condition like the one I'm talking about today. It's often undetected and misdiagnosed for years because it's so good at masking itself as other conditions. If I was that good at masking, I wouldn't have to be a VTuber. If this condition goes untreated long-term, it can lead to severe, life-threatening complications like heart failure and even multiple organ failure. So let's talk about this condition, the symptoms, how to get tested for it, what this means for my content, and what we can do to ease the symptoms if you have the condition too. Or you can simply try these different things whenever one of the symptoms you have crops up, and if it works, that could be a sign that you have the condition and you should get tested. But first, allow me to take you on the roller coaster ride that is my health journey, because this might sound familiar to you. From 2023 to 2024, I went on hiatus a lot because of health issues. I went to the ER with sudden, sharp, and extreme chest pain and random pains throughout my body twice. And I nearly went a third time because I was having symptoms of a heart attack. But my x-rays, EKG, and blood oxygen levels looked normal, and so every doctor from the ER to my primary care doctor would say something like, well, you're too young for it to be a heart attack, so it can't be that. It could be diet or lifestyle related. Your test results are normal. Perhaps it's psychological. Yeah, psychological. We'll see who's psychological by the end of this video. That's all I have to say to you, American healthcare system. I knew something was wrong, but I also knew that I was being constantly dismissed. So I tried to make the most of every day, not knowing how much time I had left. The symptoms kept getting worse, but I felt powerless to stop it because the more I advocated for myself, the more I was told that I was crazy and nothing was actually wrong with me. At one point, I thought maybe I have a very rare disease and no one is going to figure it out until it's too late. Maybe I just got really unlucky, so I should make the most of however much time I have left. Well, last month, I got my diagnosis and turns out I wasn't the crazy one. I'm not crazy, I'm just disabled. Not that there's really a difference when you live in America, but for the record, scientifically, I was right. Because I have hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism happens when the thyroid gland doesn't produce enough thyroid hormone. It's also known as underactive thyroid, and it affects nearly every organ in the body. The condition typically causes low levels of thyroid hormones such as T3, but it can affect T4 and other hormones, and it can even cause low testosterone production in men. Altogether, it affects hormones that are vital for regulating many things in the body, like the cardiovascular, nervous, reproductive, musculoskeletal, and digestive systems. Many organs throughout the body, like the heart, brain, and liver, muscle and bone health, weight, energy levels, and internal temperature, skin, hair, and nail growth. And if you're pregnant, hypothyroidism can affect fetal development. In fact, pregnancy can even cause temporary hypothyroidism in some women, and if you're really lucky, then you'll get to keep it for life. Alright guys, I'm going to tell you the common symptoms of hypothyroidism. I want to mention, this is only some of the symptoms, okay? Because we're talking about something that affects your whole damn body pretty much. So pay attention, because this might sound familiar to you. Fatigue, no matter how much you sleep or make lifestyle changes. Hypothyroidism affects the brain's neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which affect mood regulation, causing or contributing to depression, anxiety, and cognitive impairment. Yes, your brain fog could be this. Heat or cold sensitivity, which is when you feel cold or hot often or all the time, even in comparison to your environment, like wearing a winter coat in the middle of summer or feeling really freaking hot and you're outside, so you wear shorts. Did I call you out yet? Unintentional weight gain despite changes in diet or exercise. Yeah, that belly you have that you can't get rid of could be hypothyroidism. Slow heart rate, muscle weakness and aches, joint pain and stiffness, dry, flaky, or itchy skin and hair, thinning or brittle hair. Hypothyroidism can cause inflammation throughout the body, leading to fluid retention and swelling in various parts of the body, like nasal passages, which can contribute to congestion and is often mistaken for allergies or sleep apnea. I experienced this myself. I just thought maybe I have, sleep apnea. Maybe I have allergies because it runs in one side of my family. Nope. Turns out when you have hypothyroidism, it can make your body more sensitive. Constipation, short stature, a hoarse or low voice, swelling in the hands, face, and feet, slow speech, tremors, confusion. Strangely, hypothyroidism can cause you to have lower saliva production, which actually causes you to have morning breath and bad breath far more frequently than the average person. I'm talking you brushed your teeth and 3-4 hours later, it's already starting to smell bad and you're like, what the hell? I just brushed my teeth. This shouldn't be happening. Well, guess what? Could be hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism, because it causes lower saliva production, can also make your mouth more acidic, which is very favorable conditions for plaque and tartar to develop on your teeth, even if you brush and floss daily. Saliva protects and strengthens teeth and gums, so if you have less of it because of hypothyroidism, that actually helps bacteria to grow faster and to wear down enamel faster. So if you're one of those people who you're doing everything right, you have the perfect dental routine, still having dental issues, could be hypothyroidism. And in severe cases, without treatment, especially long-term, hypothyroidism can cause dysfunction or failure of the heart and other organs. You guys have shared with me over the years your struggles with many of these symptoms, so when I found out just how much this affects people and it was affecting me, I was like, you guys have to know this. I mean, you could be suffering from this. I don't want you to suffer for years like me in order to find out that you could have hypothyroidism. So if you experience any of these symptoms, but especially if you experience many at once, consult a healthcare professional for evaluation and diagnosis. I'm going to put a list of thyroid hormones on the screen right now so you can check if you have hypothyroidism by getting a thyroid blood panel that tests for the specific hormones that will let you know if you have this condition. I'm going to put that on the screen in just a moment, but let me say, the basic blood test that your primary care provider, that's your general doctor, asks you to do every year is not comprehensive enough to be preventative in general when it comes to your health. It is literally just the bare basics that are expected by the medical industry right now. And if you're in the USA, you know the healthcare industry isn't designed to prevent healthcare issues. It's reactive. It purposely functions in such a way that the system only can tell when something is wrong when it's really chronic. And then by that point, it takes more time, energy, and money to fix it. So the healthcare industry makes more money and you suffer more. Versus a truly preventative blood test would be way more comprehensive than what we currently test for. Your hormone levels can change over time. And so by the time hypothyroidism does show up in your blood test, that probably means it's really freaking serious. By requesting a more comprehensive blood panel and collecting your own personal health data by using things like an Apple Watch, for example, you can be more proactive than the healthcare system is currently designed to be and catch abnormalities before they become severe. Okay, I'm going to talk about that a bit more later, but here's the hormone levels to test for hypothyroidism. Free T3, free T4, TSH, that's thyroid stimulating hormone. If this level is abnormally high, that's a dead giveaway. Total T3, reverse T3, thyroglobulin, thyroid peroxidase, thyroid binding inhibitory globulin. I just put those on the screen so you can take a screenshot if you like and bring it to your doctor. I mean, you may not want to show them the screenshot of a sheep girl and be like, yeah, doctor, I'm only here because an anime girl told me to. But hey, if you want to, you can. I'm not going to stop you. You can say, this is a prescription from LilaoftheWind. And please remember, if you feel pain, tiredness, or other discomforts, and a medical expert dismisses your concerns or feelings like they did to me, do not give up. Get a second, third, fourth opinion. Don't stop advocating for yourself until you get the care you need. Reach out to support systems if you need help with advocacy, especially if you're disabled and need accommodation. You don't have the energy to make dozens of phone calls a day. I totally understand. I needed help myself to do that. This saved my life, and it could save yours or the life of someone you love. So do not allow these burned out, stressed out, compassion fatigue doctors to tell you that it's all in your head. Because if you do, what's the consequence? You could literally die. Versus, what's the worst that could happen if it was really anxiety and you were overreacting? Okay, so you booked some appointments you didn't really need, and a few doctors spent a few more extra hours a day on you that they could have spent on someone else. Is that really the worst, possible scenario? That's not the worst possible scenario out there. The scenario where you die, much worse. No one should have to die because of medical neglect. That is ridiculous. You are worth it. And remember, if a medical professional dismisses your concerns, that can constitute as medical malpractice if it leads to a delayed or misdiagnosis, inadequate treatment, or harm to you. You have rights and you deserve to be heard. Don't forget to use them, okay? If you need to intimidate these doctors to be respected, do it. It's better than you dying. And they are under oath to not medically neglect you, so just saying. Like I was saying before, if you have subclinical hypothyroidism like most people with hypothyroidism do, and I have that as well, that means the condition is mild, so it's harder to medically detect or visually noticed. But don't be fooled. Subclinical hypothyroidism, while mild, can be serious because it means your thyroid hormone levels can fluctuate within a degree typical testing will often miss. And because of these fluctuations, yes, subclinical hypothyroidism can get better, but it can also get worse. It can even lead to full-blown hypothyroidism, which is even more severe of a hormone deficiency. But even if it doesn't get worse, subclinical hypothyroidism can cause fluctuating hormone levels. That means your hormones and other levels can look normal during the month you get that basic annual blood test, only to become abnormal the next month, or many months later, or a year later. This is exactly what happened to me. My TSH levels looked normal during some years, but were elevated during 1 year specifically, because I have the subclinical type of hypothyroidism. It can give the false impression that you're healthy when you actually aren't. The condition affects different bodies in different ways, and since I'm a smaller person, a slight hormone deficiency affects me a whole lot. So if you think you're hormonally healthy because of past blood tests, you might not actually be, unless the test was really comprehensive. By the way, if you do get diagnosed with hypothyroidism, you will need to have maintenance blood tests every 6 months or so as part of your ongoing treatment to monitor those hormone fluctuations and to adjust your medication accordingly. And if your fluctuations happen more rapidly, you might need blood tests even more often than that, because the hormone supplementation has to match your thyroid hormone level changes over time. If you're being prescribed too much compared to your thyroid levels, that actually can be dangerous, because having too much thyroid hormone in your body can cause things like heart issues. So it's a delicate balance. You really need a provider to be helping you with this, and it's really important to be tracking those numbers accurately. My hypothyroidism is genetic, but it isn't genetic for all people, and you can develop it in other ways. So ask your family members if they have hypothyroidism, just to be safe. One of the most common causes of hypothyroidism is an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's disease. Yes, this was discovered in Japan, where the body's immune system attacks the thyroid and damages it. But some people develop it through pituitary gland issues. Some people get thyroid surgery and the thyroid gets damaged in the process. Some people get their thyroid removed altogether due to things like thyroid cancer. Some people get it through iodine deficiency, although that's rare in developed countries. Some people get it temporarily through pregnancy, like I said before, from medications. And some studies show that even COVID-19 can induce thyroid issues, potentially leading to hypothyroidism. So if you've had COVID, even if you're vaccinated, doesn't hurt to get checked. Although the American Thyroid Association says that about 12% of the US population will develop a thyroid disease during their lifetime, with hypothyroidism being the most common form, they also report that the number of people with hypothyroidism has more than doubled in 20 years, guys. This suggests there's actually a lot more people with this condition than we think. Think about how many memes there are online about how no matter how much you sleep, you're always tired. And all these symptoms that are similar to hypothyroidism. I think this is a much bigger problem than we currently realize. And that makes sense because one 2019 study found that 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, which caused conditions that impacted the quality of their lives. Metabolic issues are increasing in the USA, largely due to factors like poor diet, sedentary lifestyle, chronic stress, and environmental influences. Just standard Western living. Excessive fat and sugar intake, sedentary living, chronic stress, lack of exercise, these things can cause obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess abdominal fat, abnormal cholesterol levels, which all affect the metabolism negatively. And if you do any of these things while you have hypothyroidism, your symptoms will get worse because if your metabolism is already naturally a bit depressed, already a bit slower because of the condition, anything you do that can slow down the metabolism even more will worsen that condition. Hypothyroidism is also a metabolic disorder, not just a thyroid issue. Although most people with hypothyroidism are women, let's remember that men's health isn't talked about very much, and many men don't report health issues due to fear of judgment, the pressure to perform, or being used to just pushing through the pain. I wouldn't be surprised if hypothyroidism is more common in men than is currently reported, especially because it's often misdiagnosed as depression. And some people in the scientific community suspect that men are more depressed than they report. Hypothyroidism can also cause low testosterone, low libido, fertility issues, and so much more. And men with low testosterone may have a shorter lifespan and a higher risk of mortality. With low testosterone and fertility issues among men and women on the rise, I suspect that this is all connected. So, what does this mean for me as a VTuber and my content? Those symptoms I had in 2023 and 2024 and kept going to the ER for were signs of early stage heart failure. One of the consequences of having hypothyroidism long-term and it not being diagnosed, and so it wasn't treated. It's going to take time for my organs to repair themselves, and I'm hoping they can make a full recovery. But as you can imagine, when you've grown to adulthood and you haven't had this condition addressed, the timeline for healing could be a while, and I don't really know how long that's going to be. I am on medication for life, which sucks, but my body is adjusting very well, which is great. Normally, it takes months to get the results that I've been seeing in just weeks, so I'm pretty hopeful about that. Every medication has its benefits and risks. Thanks to the medication, most of my symptoms are gone, but I also have new ones. When your metabolism is low all the time, your body adjusts to that. You get used to being cold all the time, you get used to having low energy, and you adapt. Once your metabolism is able to rise to a higher level of functioning, suddenly there's a lot farther for you to fall because there's a wider range of energy there. There is a wider range of function. Now I can experience days where I'm very energetic and happy and doing well, but the hypothyroidism is still there and it can be triggered and worsened sometimes by different things. So I can crash and go from feeling really great one day to being absolutely incapacitated the next, which has been hard sometimes because I'm not used to that. Thanks to the medication, I feel rested after sleeping, I feel emotions more deeply, so now they make more sense to me. And that's definitely better than not getting treatment and eventually dying of heart or multiple organ failure. But at the same time, my meds come with the risk of heart issues and osteoporosis, particularly if I'm on higher levels of it, or if for some reason I'm taking more than my body needs, really hoping that never happens. And there's a lot of things I need to do to make sure the meds are digested well, absorbed well, and they actually spread throughout my body well instead of just circulating around my core, because my default circulation isn't that great right now. I have to eat and exercise in a very specific way throughout the day, so it's harder to make content. For example, I could avoid the morning and afternoon because that's when I have to take my meds and do all these things, but at night, our metabolisms naturally slow down because that's partly how we go to sleep at night. If we were energized at night, then we wouldn't sleep. And my medications are stimulants, which is why I can only have them in the morning and afternoon, and I don't have them at night. So at night, I have these two dips in metabolism already naturally because I can't have the medication then and my body's slowing down to go to sleep. And if I do any other third thing that could slow down my metabolism further, my hypothyroidism does get worse. So for example, if I'm sedentary, that will make my hypothyroidism worse. So that makes making content at night really difficult. I experience cyanosis sometimes, which is when your fingers and hands turn blue or purple due to lack of oxygen in the blood or poor circulation. Cyanosis feels like your fingers and hands are in Antarctica while you're in a normal room temperature room. It's very strange. And if your metabolism is really wonky, like mine has been at times, I have actually experienced my hands and fingers feeling like they're in Antarctica, my chest feeling like it's in the Sahara Desert, and then the rest of me is in like a room temperature environment at the same time, which is very distressing, by the way, because on one hand, you're putting gloves on to try to like warm up your hands, but it doesn't work. Your hands are so cold that the gloves don't do anything. But then you want to rip your shirt off because your chest is on fire. So yeah, my homeostasis is pretty busted right now. I actually had a medical procedure yesterday, and unfortunately it was botched. The local anesthetic was not injected correctly, and I have had a really rough 24 hours because local anesthesia and general anesthesia do affect the metabolism. It can slow down the metabolism. And for someone who is of a smaller frame like myself and has a sensitive body, it really affected me. Also, the medical provider made mistakes that I now have to go to another provider and fix. And I've learned something new about my hypothyroidism. There's a lot of little things that can affect it a lot. So what can I do about this? Is there something you can do about this to help with your own metabolism, whether you have hypothyroidism or not? And the answer is yes. There's actually a lot you can do apart from just getting medical treatment, although that's obviously going to make a big difference because you're addressing the root of the problem. You can get a standing desk instead of a sitting desk. There's also under the desk treadmills or treadmill desks where the desk and the treadmill are part of the same unit, so you can walk while you video edit or walk while you're streaming. This is something that I'm going to do. I'm going to be converting my setup into something that is more hypothyroidism friendly. That way I can video edit and walk at the same time, which is going to be very strange, but hey, I'm just going to get really good at productivity. Building muscle helps with boosting the metabolism, circulation, blood sugar, and insulin. It reduces inflammation, supports your bones, mood, heart, and energy. So if you're not weightlifting, guys, come on now. I mean, do you have an excuse at this point? Gotta get them gains. You're not gonna meet a woman that literally runs for her life on a daily basis more than me. So I might as well run marathons while I'm at it. And virtual marathons do exist, by the way, which can be a very accessible way to exercise. I actually walk 5 miles a day most days in order to just maintain my health. Obviously, if I feel really bad, I won't force myself to do it, but the 5 miles a day really helps. That is estimated to be how much our ancestors walked in ancient times. So we evolved to walk a lot. And so staying around 5 miles a day, 12,000, 15,000 steps a day is healthy for you because that's what your body evolved to be able to do. We evolved to move, which is why sitting is considered the new smoking and really bad for you. Massages and hot or cold therapy can also help. I have a heated blanket. Right now, this cyanosis thing has been a real problem for me. Every time I eat or drink, my body is sending all the blood to my core, which is why it's triggering that cyanosis, and I have that poor circulation in my hands. So before I eat or drink anything, I get a heated blanket, I turn it on a low setting, and then I eat and drink. And what ends up happening is the heated blanket helps to spur my body to circulate my blood better. Heat really helps with circulation. And as long as I have that heated blanket on and my body is heated before I eat and drink, I find that I can usually avoid the cyanosis entirely, or for the most part. I'm going to upgrade to a blanket with sleeves because I currently have a really small one right now, so that I can just swaddle myself in the heat, and hopefully that will help it entirely. Compression socks can also help because they improve circulation, and taking breaks throughout the day to move around can help too. Of course, there's other lifestyle things you can do too, like generally eating healthy. When you eat processed food, that does depress your metabolism. Stress leads to high cortisol levels, which can also mess with hormone levels if you have hypothyroidism, so avoiding stress to the best of your ability. I am going to adopt as many of these things into my life as possible, and I'm restructuring my YouTube content and my Twitch streams to accommodate my condition too. I'm going to announce some big things that I've been working on for years this spring and summer, which are surprisingly perfect for my health condition. So like, thank God that worked out. Also, thank you to everyone who's been waiting for the subathon rewards to come out. I really appreciate you. I'm so sorry that this happened, but I'm also so glad that we finally know like what I'm contending with and what I'm capable of and not with certainty, because when you're just trying to get tested all the time and people keep telling you nothing's wrong with you, and then you have to like guess what your capacity is and like what your body's gonna do, it's really freaking hard. So this will make things a lot easier and hopefully more consistent as well. Now that I finally have this label, this condition, I know that I do qualify as disabled. And looking back on my journey so far, I'm so proud that I made it this far despite that condition. In fact, not only was my heart really impaired and starting to give out a little bit, but I learned that my liver was significantly impaired. I wasn't able to process salt or sugar very well, which is why food was starting to make me feel really bleh sometimes. And that's why I had caffeine and alcohol sensitivity. In the past, on stream, I've shared with you guys the story of how I went to church and I took a sip of the wine and I literally got drunk off of a sip of wine. And my doctors called it alcohol sensitivity for the longest time. And they didn't seem to be any more concerned with it than that. And now I'm like, holy crap, that's because my liver was just absolutely destroyed. It couldn't process anything. My poor body. I have been for years working so hard with a body that's like only partially alive. And I didn't even know. Like, I mean, I knew I was tired all the time and small things affected me a lot, but Jesus Christ, I didn't think you could have a liver that functions so little and you could seem so fine. I feel like I can talk about my disability openly now that I know exactly what it is. And I hope this video helps people to potentially get a life-saving diagnosis and get their life back. It's such a relief to know, and I'm proud that I've made it this far with no treatment, although I'm also terrified about the path that I was going on without treatment. Jesus Christ, thank God this was uncovered. Could you imagine if I just disappeared forever and then you found out I died? I'm kind of impressed. I had a failing heart and liver and brain, and I still grew this YouTube channel by myself. The human body is freaking amazing. I'm still processing this news because hypothyroidism can cause, like I said before, short stature, a low voice, depression, anxiety, allergies. And I literally had all of these traits growing up, and I'm still like short, and I have a lower voice for a woman and stuff. And that's not gonna go away. Like, being a short person isn't gonna go away because I didn't get treatment before my growth plates closed. So like, I'm always gonna be a short person, which is fine, but it's like, it's weird to think, oh, I never fully grew, which is why I am the way I am. You know what I mean? And it's weird to think, oh, my voice only sounds like this because I'm missing essential hormones. And when you go through hormone therapy treatment, by the way, it really changes you. Like your personality and your emotional state, like all these things that you see as a core part of who you are, they can shift when you have hormone therapy. We've actually found that with birth control, for example, if a woman goes on birth control, sometimes the birth control and the way that it affects her hormones can actually change her personality and even who she's attracted to. There are some women that have broken up with their boyfriends because of the effects of the birth control pill on their hormonal profile, which also affected their personality. That is crazy. And we're really starting to realize just how important hormones are for both men and women. For the longest time, we really kind of focused more on women's hormones, I think, because we assumed, oh, like it's so connected to just reproduction and like that's a female thing mostly in the eyes of society. But now we're learning these hormones, they're not actually just for that. They're also for the brain and regulating the body in general. So when you change something, or if something is deficient or too high, it affects a whole lot more than your fertility, which is crazy to think about. It makes me wonder how much of us is really a choice and how much of us is a biological phenomena that is decided based upon the balance of our internal chemistry. That is crazy. I also want to talk about how people judge you when you have a mental or physical condition for a moment, because I feel like this is very emotionally cathartic for me, and hopefully it will be for other people too. Fatigue is one of the most misunderstood symptoms of chronic illness in general. Many people with hypothyroidism are misjudged as lazy, when in reality, their bodies struggle to generate and regulate energy. I've been told all my life that because I'm tired, depressed, and have low energy, that I'm somehow lazy and bad or disinterested in other people in social situations. Our society tends to paint health issues or unmet expectations as a moral failure first and foremost. There's no curiosity or asking questions about why people feel a certain way. We just judge them automatically, like it's a character flaw to have a disability, as if we chose our suffering and we are purposely trying to make other people's lives harder with our existence simply because we can. It's affirming to know that I was doing my best, and for some people, that simply wasn't enough. Versus I wasn't meeting my own expectations, because sometimes I did question if I was lazy. Sometimes I did wonder, like, is this a me problem? Am I just not being resilient enough? Am I being anxious? Now that I know there was a physical underlying complication that I was fighting against every day, and I still did everything that I did, it makes me proud. And if you have a condition like that, an experience like that, I hope you're proud too. Sometimes people judge us so that they don't have to try to understand us or accept us or care about us. Because we don't have to question, understand, accept, or care for people if we can convince ourselves that they're bad, right? Some people can't admit that they don't have the capacity for you and your needs, so they'd rather say that there's just something wrong with you instead of admitting to their limitations. You're not alone. I hope you don't give up. And I hope you remember that there's many people who care about you and your conditions, and they want to help. And speaking of help, if it wasn't for one scientist and one doctor, I wouldn't know that I had this condition in the first place. Both of them are helping many people heal by defying the norms of the healthcare industry. One of them is a VTuber that you guys might know. He's an immunologist, and he frequently streams with me. His name is KRIS NEKOMATA, and he found the doctor I needed to get my diagnosis. In fact, he suspected, before he even helped me find this professional, that I had the condition, because he also has the condition. And he was like, wait a minute, your symptoms, that sounds like me. And I was like, no, there's no way. I've always had like mental health stuff going on. Like, there's no way it could be physical. And then he's like, Lila, I'm an immunologist with hypothyroidism. And you told me all your symptoms. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll go. I'm kidding. I didn't give him that much of a hard time. But I was doubtful. I was like, really? That would be a first for me. Because like 99% of the issues I've ever had throughout my life have always been told to me as mental health conditions. Like, you have anxiety, you have depression, you're experiencing some anhedonia right now. So I was like, the odds that it would be physical at this point, I was like, either I'm the most unlucky person on earth because I have just the most broken body and brain that you have ever seen, or everything I've ever been told is a lie. And you know what? The last one and the first one turned out to be true in different ways, but it's mostly the second one. And that is life-changing. KRIS knew I needed someone that was on the cutting edge of science, and he found the perfect person. This man literally saved my life, guys. I'm gonna drop his Twitch and Twitter links in the description and the comment section of this video. I'd appreciate it if you gave him some love for literally saving the life of your favorite sheep girl. Okay, I could be dead. But I'm not. Because of this guy. KRIS has also been very supportive with my hypothyroidism journey. I can always go to him and ask him random questions like, is this normal? Is this a side effect, or is this just a normal adjustment thing? And he always knows what to say, and he pulls up a research article that directly connects to what I'm going through, and it makes me feel better. There is a second part to this story, but this video is getting very long, so I'll save that for a part 2 video. Big thank you to my YouTube members and subscribers and Twitch subscribers for being patient with me. I'm so sorry about the timing of all of this. I didn't mean for you guys to go without content for so long. I was not only adjusting to meds, but a few weeks before I got my diagnosis, my grandma was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and that was a really painful experience, not gonna lie, in more ways than one. It's always hard and horrible to lose someone to cancer. But when you're getting treatment for a condition that literally unleashes your full emotional potential at the same time and is changing your personality in real time, that's a lot. Losing someone you love and losing the old version of yourself and like becoming the person you always were at the same time, that's a whole lot. And like I said before, yesterday I got a medical procedure I needed, but unfortunately it was botched. I'm in pain right now, although it may not seem like it. I'm doing my best to power through it and be good in this video. A lot's been going on, and it's been a lot, and I'm doing my best. I'm hoping that thanks to this diagnosis, the health hiatuses will end I can just adapt to my condition in all these different ways, and hopefully content will continue. Thank you for being patient with me. Please take care of your health. Please get a thyroid panel test, I beg, just so you know. I don't want you to suffer needlessly. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.